They thought humanity would break. They were wrong. We were just getting started. The nebulous skies stretched above the outer colonies, swirling in violet and gold, casting shimmering reflections across the reinforced hull of the Starship Vanguard. Lieutenant Mara Kellen pressed her palms against the cold metal wall, feeling the subtle hum of distant engines vibrate through the floor. Her pulse raced, a mixture of fear and determination. She had survived Death World mining missions where every step could be fatal, yet this threat felt different. Intelligence reports flashing in red across the bridge consoles warned of a new alien fleet moving faster than any algorithm predicted, already breaching distant systems. Mara's mind churned with doubt. Could a single human squad, no matter how well trained, survive the relentless alien advance? Her fingers brushed the comm latch instinctively, as memories of friends and comrades lost flickered through her mind. I should have done more. I should have stayed. The hum of the ship answered only with silence, deep and unyielding. She drew a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Humanity had endured worse: orbital collapses, radiation storms, Death World predators. But this was uncharted. Still, beneath the fear, a spark ignited. Humans adapted, and Mara would not let her crew falter. The bridge was alive with motion. Crew members hurried to stations, calibrating shields and weapons, while holographic projections displayed the alien fleet approaching the system. Their silhouettes were jagged, black shapes drifting against the luminous nebula. Mara studied their formations, noting subtle irregularities. They weren't attacking in conventional waves. Their movements were unpredictable, almost improvisational. They don't anticipate human ingenuity, she thought, and a small flicker of confidence replaced the tight knot of dread. Outside, planets dotted the nebula with ancient alien ruins. Towering spires of blackened stone glimmered faintly under auroras of green lightning, relics of civilizations that had fallen to unknown catastrophes. Mara imagined the countless stories embedded in those ruins, the triumphs, betrayals, and collapses. Humanity's own fragile colonies now seemed like fragile candles against the vast cosmic storm. Yet there was a stubborn defiance in her chest that refused to be extinguished. We are not fragile. We endure. We adapt. A sudden alert drew her attention. One of the outer sensors had detected movement near a minor colony on the system's fringe. Mara's stomach tightened. Her hand hovered over the tactical console, calculating probabilities and potential losses. Every choice had consequences, and hesitation could mean catastrophe. The crew around her moved with practiced precision, yet even the most disciplined faces betrayed tension. Mara allowed herself a fleeting glance at her squad. Their eyes were fixed on her, some with trust, some with doubt. She could not fail them. She could not fail herself. Taking a deep breath, she addressed the crew, her voice firm but calm. Prepare for contact. Shields full, weapons hot. Stay sharp, watch each other's flanks, and trust your instincts. We fight smart, not just hard. Her words carried weight. They had trained for years, faced countless challenges, yet nothing in simulations could replicate the raw, intelligent unpredictability of an actual alien assault. Mara's inner conflict simmered, fear, doubt, and the haunting thought of mortality, but she channeled it into clarity. The vibration of the hull seemed to echo her determination. Outside the viewport, alien ships twisted through the nebula, engines glowing with unnatural light. Their movement was deliberate, alien, and terrifying. Yet Mara noticed tiny deviations in the patterns, slight pauses, minor course adjustments that no human fleet would make. She realized that the aliens, though seemingly superior, underestimated her species' capacity for improvisation. They assume we will panic. They assume we are predictable. They are wrong. Mara's mind sharpened as she traced trajectories and calculated intercept vectors. Every second counted. Every decision mattered. She tapped the console with decisive intent, rerouting energy flows, adjusting shield harmonics, and preparing countermeasures that relied on human adaptability rather than raw power. The crew began their final preparations. The hum of the engines rose, and lights along the corridors brightened, reflecting off polished metal and the sweat of anticipation. Mara closed her eyes for a fraction of a second, centering herself. She imagined every decision she had ever made under pressure, every life she had saved, every challenge she had faced and survived. All of it culminated in this moment. When her eyes opened, The nebulous skies seemed almost alive with light, the alien fleet looming but not invincible. Mara straightened, shoulders squared, eyes sharp and unwavering. Fear remained, but so did resolve. Humanity was about to demonstrate its defiance, not with sheer power alone, but with ingenuity, courage, and relentless adaptability. We will not break. Not now, not ever. The starship Vanguard surged forward, its hull gleaming under nebula light, as Mara Kellen led her crew into the uncertain void. The first encounter with the alien fleet would test every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of human resilience, but it would also reveal something they had yet to comprehend, the extraordinary will of a death world a human, unyielding in the face of impossible odds. The alien fleet had grown larger, their jagged silhouettes stretching across the nebula-lit expanse, reflecting brilliant streaks of violet and gold. Lieutenant Mara Kellen paced along the bridge of the Vanguard, her eyes tracing the irregular patterns of the approaching vessels. Each movement, each shift in trajectory, suggested intelligence far beyond any encounter humanity had previously faced. Her pulse thrummed in her ears. This wasn't a conventional attack, it was a calculated challenge. Inside the corridors, her crew moved with disciplined urgency. Plasma rifles clinked against armored harnesses, holographic displays flashed, and every console emitted the soft hum of synchronized activity. Mara paused at one of the tactical stations, scanning reports from forward scouts. One of the outer moons had been overrun, automated defenses shredded within minutes. A shiver ran down her spine, not from fear alone, but from the weight of responsibility. Every decision she made now could mean the difference between survival and extinction. Her internal conflict deepened. Doubt gnawed at her mind. Have I underestimated them? Am I leading my crew into a trap I cannot see? The thought of failure pressed against her chest like an iron vice. Memories of past losses, friends who had died on distant worlds, colonies she had been unable to save, flickered with painful clarity. She clenched her fists, forcing herself to breathe. Panic would solve nothing. Hesitation could kill. The bridge lights flickered in unison as an incoming transmission cut through the hum. It was a message from Admiral Vera on the outer command station. Mara, alien coordination patterns are unlike anything in our database. Do not engage conventionally. Improvise. Her stomach twisted, but a spark ignited inside her. Improvisation was humanity's strength. Where the aliens calculated patterns, humans could think beyond formulas, adapt in real time, and survive the impossible. Mara gathered her squad near the tactical console. Listen closely, she began, her voice calm but firm. They're expecting us to follow protocols, to act predictably. We won't. Shields will be rerouted dynamically. Weapons will fire on unconventional vectors. And if they breach our formations, we will not panic. Adaptation is our weapon. The cadets nodded, their faces tight with tension, but trust gleamed in their eyes. Even the youngest, barely 18, understood the magnitude of the moment. Mara's confidence, fragile though it sometimes felt inside, became a steady anchor for them. Outside, the alien fleet advanced in haunting precision. Their ships emitted pulses of light that rippled through the nebula, illuminating jagged ruins on nearby planets. Green lightning danced across spires and towers, reflecting the eerie symmetry of civilizations long dead. Mara's mind absorbed every detail, the color of energy flares, the timing of pulses, the faint vibrations traveling through the starship's hull. She could almost predict their next move. Almost. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alarm. A small scouting vessel had been disabled, its crew in immediate danger. Mara's heart clenched, but she forced herself to think clearly. Divert 2 interceptors to coordinates Alpha 7. Keep the fleet pressure minimal. We cannot allow panic to spread. Her orders flowed naturally, calculated, precise. Even in fear, she commanded control. Every system of the Vanguard hummed under her touch. Shields adjusted, turrets rotated, and plasma arrays aligned along nonlinear trajectories designed to confuse the alien calculations. She watched her squad execute each maneuver with precision, improvising when necessary. A core engineer rerouted auxiliary power to reinforce shields that had been momentarily weakened. A Thraxian cadet used brute force to manually rotate a damaged turret into position. Even the human novices adapted seamlessly under Mara's guidance. Despite the outward calm, Mara's internal struggle persisted. Every strategy carried the weight of potential loss. Every choice reflected her deepest fears. Could humanity truly survive this? Could she lead them without faltering? She remembered the words of her mentor from a death world long ago. Strength alone is meaningless. Survival belongs to those who endure, who adapt, who outthink the impossible. The alien fleet shifted patterns again, seemingly reacting to Mara's adjustments. For a moment, it seemed as though they might retreat, reassess, or falter. But Mara knew better. They were testing, probing, learning, adapting in their alien way. Every second of hesitation could cost lives. She inhaled sharply, letting fear solidify into resolve. Her squad moved as one, a fluid organism responding to impossible odds. The alien ships loomed closer, green energy flares cutting through nebula clouds, casting dancing shadows across the bridge. Mara's focus sharpened. She anticipated, calculated, improvised. Humanity's survival, for now, rested not on firepower, but on quick thinking, trust, and relentless adaptability. As the first skirmishes erupted in the outer sectors, Mara's mind was clear. Fear lingered, doubt lingered, but beneath it all burned the unshakable flame of determination. The aliens had assumed predictability, assumed weakness. They would learn, very soon, that human ingenuity was far from broken. They thought humanity would break. They were wrong. Mara's eyes narrowed as the first exchange of fire lit the nebula skies. We are just getting started. The shadows of the nebula had grown longer, casting eerie reflections across the fractured corridors of the Vanguard. Lieutenant Mara Kellen's fingers drummed nervously against the cold metal console, yet her eyes remained fixed on the holographic displays. The alien fleet, relentless and intelligent, had begun to probe weaknesses, exploiting gaps that Mara had not anticipated. But the real shock came from an unexpected direction, a betrayal that no one aboard the Vanguard had foreseen. A trusted ally, one of the Coalition's command stations, had rerouted critical energy reserves, leaving Mara's squad exposed in the outer sectors. The communications relay crackled, filled with frantic alarms and urgent warnings. Mara's stomach tightened. Every calculation she had made, every contingency plan, now hung by a thread. The betrayal was surgical, precise, and devastating. Her heart pounded in her chest. A surge of anger mixed with disbelief. How could they? After all we've done? She clenched her fists, teeth grinding. The weight of leadership pressed on her shoulders like the hull itself, cold and unyielding. She could feel the eyes of her crew on her, their trust and fear intertwined. One wrong move now could shatter them all. Mara sank onto a support strut, pressing her forehead into her hands. Memories of distant death worlds flashed unbidden. The screaming winds, acid rains, predators that hunted without reason. Each moment of survival had been a trial, yet nothing had tested her like this betrayal. The alien fleet was a storm outside. The human betrayal, a storm within. A young cadet, barely 19, approached cautiously. "Lieutenant, what do we do?" Her voice was trembling, but filled with tentative trust. Mara lifted her gaze, eyes glistening with suppressed frustration and sorrow. "We survive. That's what we do. We adapt. Always." Her voice wavered slightly, betraying the inner turmoil she fought to hide. The Vanguard shuddered as an alien skirmisher fleet tore through the outer shields. The sound of impact reverberated through the deck, a harsh, metallic thrum that seemed to echo Mara's heartbeat. Systems flickered, emergency lights bathed the corridors in a crimson glow. Her crew moved quickly, responding to damage reports, but every step was hampered by the uncertainty of power failures caused by the betrayal. Mara's mind raced. She felt the familiar sting of fear, the almost paralyzing weight of doubt. "I can't fail them. Not now. Not ever." She forced herself to stand, shoulders squared, breathing deeply. Her Death Worlder instincts, honed on planets where every second could be fatal, kicked in. Improvisation, speed, adaptability. These were her weapons, even when her heart trembled. She began rerouting auxiliary power, bypassing the compromised channels, and recalibrating the plasma turrets to fire in unpredictable arcs. Each movement was precise, almost instinctive. The alien ships faltered momentarily, their advance disrupted by her unorthodox maneuvers. Mara could see the confusion in their energy patterns, a subtle acknowledgement that humans were not bound by standard tactics. Yet, even as victory flickered at the edges, the emotional toll weighed heavily. Mara allowed herself a fraction of a second to feel grief for the fallen cadets, for the ally she could no longer trust, for the vulnerability of her species. She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the rapid pulse beneath her palm. Every decision carried lives. Every error could be catastrophic. The young cadet returned, this time placing a tentative hand on Mara's arm. "Lieutenant, you're going to pull us through, aren't you?" Mara met her gaze, eyes sharp but moist with the raw weight of command. "We've survived worse. And we'll survive this too. Trust me." Her voice, though quiet, carried the steel of a leader who had faced death countless times and emerged stronger. Outside the viewport, the nebula swirled violently, colored streaks of energy illuminating alien ruins across the planets below. Plasma blasts from the vanguard arced unpredictably, reflecting the human ingenuity guiding them. The aliens, momentarily disoriented, hesitated, just enough for Mara's crew to regroup, patch systems, and brace for the next wave. Her thoughts, though, remained conflicted. The weight of betrayal, the proximity of death, the fragility of her crew. It pressed on her like the atmosphere of a collapsing world. Yet beneath it all, the spark of defiance burned brighter than ever. Humanity's strength was not merely in their weapons or technology, but in their resilience, adaptability, and indomitable will. Mara straightened fully, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. Her crew had rallied, systems were stabilizing, and the alien fleet's advance had slowed. She allowed herself a small, private exhale. Fear and grief had not paralyzed her. They had sharpened her focus. We endure. We adapt. We survive. Even amidst betrayal and the looming shadow of extinction, Mara Kellen realized something crucial. This was exactly the moment humanity would be defined. Not by flawless execution, but by the courage to rise from despair, to improvise, and to confront impossible odds with unyielding resolve. The nebulous skies outside glimmered with strange light, reflecting the fractured yet unbroken spirit of those aboard the Vanguard. Mara's eyes narrowed, determination blazing. The aliens had assumed weakness. They were about to discover the true measure of human resilience. They thought we would break. They were wrong. We were just getting started. The nebula storm raged outside the Vanguard, a riot of violet and gold lightning illuminating distant planets and shattered alien ruins. Lieutenant Mara Kellen stood at the bridge, her Death Walder instincts razor-sharp, every sense attuned to the battle unfolding. The alien flagship, a massive, jagged silhouette, loomed above the central planet, its energy flares slicing through the nebula clouds like blades of liquid light. Mara's squad, battered but unbroken, moved with precision, each member trusting her judgment, each heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of the ship. Her mind raced, calculating every angle, anticipating every possible counterattack. This was the moment where improvisation, experience, and courage would define not only the outcome of the battle, but the future of humanity itself. She gripped the tactical console, her knuckles white, and initiated the maneuver she had crafted in private moments of desperation, a dual-angle plasma strike, exploiting the gravitational eddies of the nebula to redirect energy in a pattern no alien calculation could predict. "Prepare for maximum output," Mara commanded, voice calm yet authoritative. "Focus on synchronized bursts. Timing is everything." Her squad obeyed instantly. Plasma turrets aligned along chaotic vectors, shield harmonics pulsed erratically, and energy conduits glowed with unpredictable intensity. The alien flagship hesitated, unable to anticipate the unorthodox patterns. Mara's eyes narrowed, sensing the moment of breakthrough approaching. She had survived death world storms, orbital collapses, and countless ambushes, but nothing compared to the raw, intelligent challenge of outthinking a species that had never expected human ingenuity. The first volley struck. Brilliant arcs of plasma slashed through the alien hull, light cascading across the nebula. Mara's squad executed each sequence flawlessly, improvising minor adjustments in real time. The alien flagship shuddered violently, energy rippling across its dark surface. Mara allowed herself a moment to inhale, the ship vibrating beneath her feet, the hum of thrusters like the heartbeat of a living creature. She glanced at her crew, exhaustion etched on their faces, yet eyes alight with determination. Even the youngest cadets, once fearful, now moved with unshakable confidence. The bond forged in the crucible of near destruction had strengthened them. Mara felt pride, mingled with awe. Humanity, fragile as it seemed, possessed a resource no alien could calculate: adaptability, courage, and relentless will. "Now," she shouted, her voice cutting through alarms and turbulence. The turrets fired in perfect synchronization. Plasma arcs intertwined, bending around gravitational eddies, striking the flagship in multiple points simultaneously. Energy flares reflected across the nebula, illuminating alien spires below with harsh, brilliant light. The flagship's shields flickered and collapsed. The crew erupted in controlled shouts, adjusting fire and energy output in real time. The alien vessel reeled. Its hull cracked, sparks and arcs of energy cascading into the void. Mara's squad executed the final phase, a combination of brute force and improvisational strategy honed from years of survival on death worlds. The flagship faltered, twisting uncontrollably, until a final eruption of plasma reduced it to shards that drifted through the nebula like falling stars. Silence fell across the bridge. Mara's chest heaved, adrenaline slowly giving way to relief. Outside, the nebulous skies glimmered, reflecting the victory they had carved from the jaws of near-impossible odds. The aliens had underestimated them. Humanity had adapted, improvised, and prevailed. Mara allowed herself a brief smile. The fight was not without cost. Some of her squad were wounded, systems damaged, but the core of humanity remained intact, defiant, and unbroken. She surveyed the nebula-lit expanse, feeling the weight of survival and the thrill of triumph mingle. Humanity's story was far from over. The squad gathered around Mara, their expressions a mixture of awe and respect. One cadet, younger than the rest, dared a question: "Lieutenant, how did we do that?" Mara's gaze swept the horizon, eyes reflecting nebula light and the subtle tremors of the aftermath. "We survived. We adapted. We outthought what they never expected. That's what humans do." Her words resonated through the bridge, uniting the crew in quiet triumph. Mara allowed herself a moment to remember those lost in the skirmishes, feeling grief and gratitude intertwine. Humanity's victory was never easy, never without sacrifice, but it was theirs. The stars outside glimmered like diamonds scattered across velvet, nebula storms casting brilliant shadows on alien ruins below. Mara's eyes softened, a quiet hope blooming. They had faced annihilation and emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Humanity had endured, and from this victory would grow a legacy of courage, ingenuity, and determination. For the first time in cycles, Mara felt the weight of responsibility lift slightly. She had led her crew through fear, betrayal, and impossible odds. And she had shown, not by brute force alone, but by adaptability, courage, and ingenuity, that humanity's spirit was unbreakable. As the vanguard sailed through the nebula-lit void, the shattered alien vessels drifting in defeat, Mara allowed herself a final thought. They thought humanity would break. They were wrong. We were just getting started. The aftermath of the battle left the nebula skies shimmering with streaks of violet and gold, reflecting off shards of alien wreckage drifting silently in the void. Lieutenant Mara Kellen stood on the bridge of the vanguard, shoulders straight, yet her mind was a whirlpool of exhaustion, relief, and contemplation. The flagship of the alien threat had been destroyed, but victory came with scars, both physical and emotional. Crew members moved through the corridors, attending to the wounded, patching systems, and salvaging critical supplies. Despite the exhaustion etched on every face, there was a shared sense of triumph that bound them together. Mara's gaze swept across the viewport, taking in the nebula-lit planets below, their alien ruins faintly glowing with the aftermath of energy strikes. The sheer scale of the universe, and the civilizations that had risen and fallen before humanity, weighed on her mind. Yet in the midst of such vastness, she felt a quiet affirmation. Humanity had survived, not by chance, but by ingenuity, courage, and unbreakable spirit. Her thoughts drifted to her squad, the cadets who had trusted her, followed her commands, and improvised when every standard procedure failed. Even the youngest, most uncertain members had risen to the occasion. Mara allowed herself a fleeting smile, pride and gratitude mingling with the exhaustion in her chest. They had faced what many believed impossible and had emerged alive and unbroken. In the communications room, reports streamed in from distant colonies. Most were intact, thanks to rapid human intervention and decisive maneuvers. Mara noted subtle patterns in the alien retreat, evidence that their intelligence had underestimated humans at every step. The aliens assumed that predictability would guide human action, that fear would cripple them. They had been wrong. Humanity's adaptability, improvisation, and indomitable will had rewritten the rules of engagement. A cadet approached her quietly, a small but genuine smile on his face. "Lieutenant, we did it. We actually did it." Mara nodded, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "Yes. But remember, this is only one battle. The universe is vast, and our challenges are far from over. What matters is that we survived, and we learned. Humanity is far stronger than they imagined." The nebula clouds outside shimmered like molten light, casting reflections across the starship's hull. Mara allowed herself to reflect on the internal struggle she had endured, the doubt, the fear, the weight of responsibility. She had questioned her own judgment, felt the sting of betrayal, and grappled with the fragility of life itself. And yet, each moment of doubt had sharpened her resolve, made her more vigilant, more adaptive. She had emerged not only victorious but transformed. Her squad gathered around the tactical console, their faces tired but illuminated with quiet pride. Mara's eyes softened as she addressed them. "You all showed extraordinary courage today. Each of you adapted, thought ahead, and trusted each other when it mattered most. This is humanity at its best, flawed, yes, but resilient, intelligent, and unbreakable." Outside, the distant planets glimmered under the nebula light, alien spires and ruins standing as silent witnesses to the human triumph. Mara felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had not merely survived this encounter. They had demonstrated a capacity for ingenuity and resilience that no alien calculation could predict. Every skirmish, every improvisation, had left a mark not only on the battlefield, but on the collective spirit of the crew. As the ship stabilized, systems humming smoothly once more, Mara allowed herself a quiet moment of reflection. Her mind wandered to Earth, to the countless lives that had depended on their success, to the hope that now burned brighter than ever. Humanity had faced extinction and had risen, not as a fragile species, but as a force capable of challenging the universe itself. The cadets looked to Mara, their expressions a mix of exhaustion, relief, and hope. She met their gazes, drawing strength from their presence. This victory is ours, but it is also a reminder. We will face more trials, more threats. But we will endure, as we always have. We are human, and we never give up. The nebula outside seemed to respond to her words, the colors brightening, reflecting of drifting debris and distant ruins in a celestial dance. Mara felt the enormity of the moment, the culmination of fear, struggle, improvisation, and triumph. Humanity had shown that even in the face of impossible odds, courage, intelligence, and unity could carve a path forward. Finally, Mara took a slow breath, the weight of command lifting slightly from her shoulders. The Vanguard sailed onward, her crew resilient, the alien threat diminished, and the universe aware, at least in part, of the indomitable will of humans. For Mara, for her squad, for all of humanity, the battle had ended, but the story was far from over. And that was precisely the point. They were alive, they were victorious, and they were just getting started.